Welcome to Times Media and the St. Cloud Times Editorial Board endorsement interviews for the 2008 elections. The Editorial Board is the voice behind the Times Review, which appears daily on the opinion page and website. Board members are conducting this and other interviews involving races and issues on your 2008 Election Day ballot. Board members are Times Media Publisher and President Bill Albrecht, Executive Editor John Bodette, Opinion Page Editor Randy Krebs, Community Representative Dory Larison, and Times Building Manager Mark Hessler. The board has neither say nor involvement in directing Times news coverage. Similarly, Times reporters are not involved in this endorsement process.
All right. Follow-ups at this point?
Well, this board has gone on record as slamming the state legislature pretty hard for the fact that education funding is a mess. In this district, if this levy doesn't pass, it'll be 55 less teachers. It'll be an average of 4 students additional per classroom, and closing of buildings and on, which doesn't exactly seem to meet the key points of they're trying to do. I think 2 years ago, everybody came in on the candidates and said they were going to fix education funding, for those of you who were there 2 years ago. It hasn't happened. What specifically are you going to do? You talk about raising taxes. How do you all feel on that? I mean, taxes, if the levy passes, will be raised. That'll be a de facto, but it will not be at the state effort to fix it. So what specifically are you going to do?
Just wait, before he starts, a clarification. While we as an editorial board have been hard on the state legislature in education funding, we have not said throwing more money at it is the answer, and we have not said that cutting money is the answer. It's the formula and how it gets divvied. So as it relates to that, it is the way it's being done that we've been very critical of.
And just how is it going to be fixed?
And what we're looking for, I think, are sort of specific, whether it's a bill you can carry with an idea or rallying the troops to get something done this year is what we're looking for when we say specific. Steve started with it. You want to give them a minute each to go back?
Sure, that works. Minute.
Start back with Steve, and then we'll go through the group.
Well, first of all, I'd invite my opponent to research my record more carefully about funding. Adequate funding is a part of the puzzle. And it's interesting that the Republicans, who are in the minority, offered a 4% increase, 4% first year, 4% second year, while the Democrats went for a 2%, 1%. We got you an extra 1% last year, something I did vote for, by the way. So there's a little bit of double talk going on here when we talk about the funding piece, because we've all acknowledged that's a piece of the puzzle here. Where are we setting our priorities? I agree with what Joanne has said about the unfunded mandates. And we have to look at that. What are we asking our school districts to do? Are we asking them to raise our children, or are we asking them to educate our children? If we focus resources, whether they're increasing or existing, on the things that we know help kids succeed academically, we're going to do a much better job with the resources we've got. And we'll have a much better opportunity of going back to the taxpayers, whether they're paying state taxes or local taxes, and convince them of the need for funding for additional programs or other things. That's vitally important. I think there is a loss of accountability with the taxpayers. They don't feel like they're connected to the dollars they're being asked to spend. And that is something that we have to do.
Okay. Joshua.
You know, I look at this as a big picture. Obviously, I think one of the issues that we have when it comes down to the levies is that people continue to get hit up for levies over and over in a lot of different districts. And I think people, as voters, don't always get the opportunity to look at what happens down at the Capitol to reflect that. And Steve mentioned introducing that the Republicans introduced a bill that would have given more per pupil funding in 08 and 09 than and that bill didn't even get a hearing. And the Democratic plan offered less money. And I would have supported that bill that would have put more money into it. Now, the answer is not certainly just to throw money at it, which I alluded to before. One of the things that I didn't touch on before that I think is really important is I think overall as public dollars go and public buildings go, we need to take a new look at how these schools are being built. I think it becomes an open design structure for architects and stuff to create this great Taj Mahal school when we need to focus on the classrooms and things along those lines instead of making it the prettiest building. Now, I know bonding and levies aren't tied together, but I think that's one area where we can save a lot of money and free it up for the school district.
Larry?
Thank you very much. Equal money across the board is an interesting concept because you think you then would rate pretty fairly, except all the state of Minnesota. That's based on the number of students you have. How many students less did we have in Minnesota this coming year than the last year? This is declining in many of the areas. There's 10,000 students less, by the way. In our district, if you would have went straight across the board and we would have got what was being asked for here, we'd have taken it in the shorts, heavily in the shorts. Because we needed, and I did not promise to fix the formula, I promised to get money into the underfunded mandate of special education, in which we did, larger than ever before. The reason the problem causes in the other area is that we're shifting apples under the pie. And so there wasn't money for the general formula because large amounts of money went into special ed. And for many of the districts, for 40 of the districts, for 8 of the regional centers, we needed that. We've been unfairly cross subsidies, just choking off. We needed that special attention for that special education funding.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop. That's
Sure,
the minute.
thank you.
So, sorry. Joanne?
Specifically, I would look at, thank you, Steve. Okay, specifically, I would look at these areas of extra costs for education to begin with. I would look at special education. The state made great strides towards achieving what they consider is their share of special education, and yet 50% of the costs of these requirements still come from our school district and from other students in our school districts. So I would look at that fair funding for the special education students and every other student that has special needs that require extra money. I don't think that just shifting the formula around is going to work. I don't know of any district that's plush with money from the state. Other districts may have sufficient money for their students with levies or because they have fewer special needs students. But I think that we're still talking, you know, if you just shift the formula, you're talking about winners and losers, and we don't need to be doing that right now. We need to make sure that those student needs are met. And I would be looking at those needs, those related expenses, and trying to fund those.